Welcome, everyone. My name is Claudia Ray. I'm going to be your host for today. We are launching the Clark-Fulton Together Community Master Plan. So welcome, everyone. In here, Zoe, next. So like I say, I'm Claudia Ray. I'm an urban planner and an urban designer at Wallace Robertson Todd, WRT, which is a planning and design firm based in Philadelphia and San Francisco. We are a group of planners and urban designers, landscape architects and architects with years of experience on doing and designing livable places in communities such as the one in Clark-Fulton. We were selected by the core team, which we'll introduce later, to be the planning team, the leads and the prime for this project. Our role in the process is to be the planners, urban designer, the community engagement lead, and public realm design. I have here today Woo Kim, which is the principal in charge, and Zoe Mueller, which is our project planner. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves very quickly. So I'm going to start with Zoe.
Hello, everyone. Good to see your faces. I am joining you from Philadelphia, but I spent quite a bit of time living in Cleveland, and my family's from Cleveland originally. And so it's really special to me to be able to be working with you on this plan. When I was living in Cleveland, I worked with Cleveland Neighborhood Progress and Tremont West Development Corporation, and spent most of my time out of work in Detroit Shoreway, where I lived while I was there. So looking forward to working with you in the months and year to come.
Woo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Woo Kim. I'm a principal at WRT. I'm a planner, urban designer, and I've been trained as an architect. This type of projects are basically 99% of what I do every day at WRT. Neighborhood planning, community planning, and figuring out how to invest in our neighborhoods. So that's me, and I'm really excited about this. And this is a very, very cool project launch.
All righty. So, Wood, did you want to explain a little
sure.
bit of our role and what we do?
Yeah, as Claudia mentioned, we are planners, urban designers, landscape architects, and architects. We are very familiar with Cleveland. We worked on the Cleveland Metro Parks 2020 Parks Master Plan many years ago. The photo on the top left that you see, I'm sure many of you are very familiar with, St. Luke's Hospital in the Buckeye Shaker neighborhood. That was us. We worked on the building, the architecture of that, and are very proud of that project. And on the bottom here, it gives you a snippet of the types of projects that we do. On the bottom left is a project that we completed a couple of years ago in North Philadelphia called Taller Puertorriqueño. And it is a community center in a predominantly Hispanic and probably 90% Puerto Rican neighborhood in North Philly that was needed a library, a community center, a cultural center, and that's the building that we worked on. In the center there, we are also landscape architects, and we work on beautifying the public realm, and that's a project in Castro Valley, California, out of our San Francisco office. And then to its right is the Mariposa Park, or as Claudia always reminds me to pronounce it, Mariposa Park in San Francisco, California, in Mission Bay. So we also design beautiful parks, as you can see there. Next.
Go ahead. So thank you. So, besides WRT, we actually, to develop this master plan process, we gather a group of fabulous specialists that are going to be working with us together. So we have investment fund, which are going to be helping us with economic analysis, policies, and investment strategies. They're a nonprofit, and they're based in Philadelphia and Ohio. So we do have two fabulous members, Michael and Jacob, they're currently working actually in the city of Cleveland doing a tax amendment project. We also have Neighborhood Connections and WSP, which are both companies based in Ohio, in Cleveland. So locally, so Neighborhood Connection is going to supporting and give us support in creating the capacity building and ambassador training and community engagement. So you're going to see a lot of Kayla and Jerry throughout this process. So, you know, thank you for agreeing to be part of this group. They're very good, and most of you actually know their work locally in Cleveland. And we have WSP, which is a national recognized transportation company, which are going to be supporting us with multimodal transportation. So we have Nancy and team as part of this to provide all the skills relating to bike and pedestrian and transit-oriented development. So we all combine local understandings and national expertise. We are all the partners and all the planning team have experience implementing projects and empowering community. I think we also take pride in bringing community together so we can all build a collective vision. We work with passion and conviction. This is what we do every day. Like we mentioned, this is, you know, we love doing this type of work. And we know that neighborhoods are the soul and life of the city. So this is like very fundamental for us in our understanding. So with that, I'm going to leave it to Zoe, which is going to take you through the agenda and our next steps.
Great. Thanks, Claudia. So we just want to give you a sense of, you know, what today is going to include and what you'll sort of walk away with at the end of the day. We're going to start by just kind of giving a little bit of an overview of, you know, what the study area is, what our focus will be, the assignment ahead of us, and then give you a chance to get to know all of the team members that are part of this process, that have been working together with us from the beginning, and then spend a little bit of time looking at the neighborhood, getting a feel for what's going on right now, and the types of initiatives and projects that this planning process will be plugging into. Next, we'll take some time to look at the planning process and the different elements of the plan going forward. And giving you a chance to see the different ways that you can participate. We'll primarily be focusing on the participation for this first phase of work. Since so much is changing every day, we'll keep revisiting that and keep you up to date on what the engagement is going forward. And then we'll conclude the presentation with some interactive questions and discussion to just, you know, take advantage of all of us being here in this digital meeting together and get your input and some good discussion about the planning process ahead of us. Slide. I think Claudia, you'll still be controlling. Yeah, thank you. So to give you a sense of, you know, our focus, this is a master planning process. So what that means to us is that we're going to be working together to create a resident-driven master planning vision for the Clark-Fulton neighborhood. And that vision will really help the neighborhood to transform into a more healthy, equitable, and sustainable community. So that's what we're going to be sort of tying this all back to at every step of the process. And to think through, you know, all of the different elements of, you know, this neighborhood, we wanted to really set a clear understanding for everyone of, you know, what that study area is that we're really going to be looking at. So you'll see on the right side of this slide, you know, the study area boundary is that thick black line. On the north, where it's bounded by I-90, on the east by I-71, and on the south as well by I-71. And then the western border is 44th Street, West 44th Street. And you'll see that we've included both sides of the street so we can look at it as a corridor. And you'll also see on the east side of the study area, we include a portion of Tremont, and that's because this is all, you know, part of a fluid experience of the neighborhood. So we'll be working closely on that. The next thing we really wanted to lay out for you is what community engagement means for us and, you know, how it's going to be incorporated at every step of the process. So this, for us, this master planning process is really about using the process itself to be a community engagement and capacity building exercise that really identifies champions for future implementation and builds that collaboration from the beginning. Second, it's going to be at every step an inclusive, transparent, and multi-layered process that's even more important with the social distancing and COVID-19 constraints. And it's going to go hand in hand with the master planning process. It's not a side, add-on. It is, central and embedded in every part of the planning process. And finally, we're going to be utilizing storytelling to really engage residents, engage stakeholders, and start to generate this excitement and a clear vision and a clear message together. So with that, we'd like to introduce the core team partners. These are the visionary leaders that got this whole effort started, got it off the ground, engaged us to work with you. So I'm just going to kind of introduce each of them, and they'll say a little bit about themselves, about their investment in this planning process, and what they see their role as moving forward. So if you can each just take a minute to do that. We'll start with Jasmine.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. You may feel a little bit uncomfortable with this video meeting, as I do. I'm still not comfortable with it, but I appreciate you being here today. Personally, I prefer to be in person, but we have to put your safety first. So welcome. A little bit about myself. Once again, Councilwoman Jasmine Santana, representing Ward 14. I am so proud of serving a wonderful community near the West Side, a community where I grew up in and still live, and raised both of my children here. They're 16 and 17 now. But I must say it was very challenging raising my children in this community. It was plagued with so much blight and crime, a lot of illegal dumping, lack of green space. I remember painfully my kids begging me to move out the neighborhood. So I chose to stay in this community because it is important to me that my kids and others in the community see that they don't have to move elsewhere, to raise their family. We can work together to serve our community and be part of that change, right? So we can make a community that's thriving for all.
Thanks so much, Jasmine. So we're just going to have the remainder of the core team, including Ricardo, introduce themselves.
So Ricardo Leon, Executive Director of Metro West Community Development. I think I know most of you, if not all of you, on the call today. I'm a lifelong resident of the neighborhood. I grew up here. I grew up on Clark Avenue, live off of Denison now. My mom's been in her house for 20 plus years. To me, this is like both professional and personal, right? I've lived here my whole life, and I think for most of my life, I felt like we didn't really have a voice. Like, this is a neighborhood that no one really paid attention to, and for the first time ever, we have a chance to really create something incredibly unique and impactful and powerful that will bring a voice to the community and will put residents first. And so, I really hope that you guys are willing to just join us in this ongoing process. We're going to have obstacles and hurdles, and maybe, like to Jasmine's point, we're not always going to see eye to eye, but I hope that together we can collaborate and really figure this thing out, and really put a plan in place to create a more just and equitable community. I'll keep it brief because, again, you'll be hearing from me in just a little bit. So with that, I'll turn it over to Freddie.
Thank you, Ricardo and Jasmine. I just want to say I'm a resident of the Clark-Fulton neighborhood, as well as the planning director for the city of Cleveland. This project is very important to me because of two reasons. One, this plan has citywide implications for the city of Cleveland. As Jasmine alluded to, this plan is really about equity and about how we provide a playbook for how resources are spent in some of our most challenged neighborhoods. The other piece of this for me that's very personal is that being a resident, I have family here, my children are being raised here. And this is a very resilient community. And one of the reasons why we moved in this neighborhood, not just because it's close to downtown and I can get to work in 7 minutes, but this neighborhood is one that's up and coming. And I feel very confident in the leadership in this community. And Jasmine, I feel very confident in the leadership of Ricardo and the team. I'm very excited about what Metro Hospital is doing. And it all aligns with the work that we're doing right now at the City of Cleveland, as Jasmine talked about, the Neighborhood Transformation Initiative. And when we think about what's going on in the world today, now is the time to really start to rethink our communities. And I'm just excited to be a part of this. We are all committed. Most of our core team either live or work in this neighborhood. So we're not removed, we're insiders, and it matters. So just encourage you all, as Ricardo alluded to bring your authentic self to this process. And we hope to produce a product that we can actually implement, because this playbook that's going to be developed will be resourced. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Freddie. Greg, you're up next.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Greg Zuka. I'm the Director of Economic and Community Transformation for the Metro Health System. I'm not a resident of the neighborhood, but I live on the near west side, and my kids go to Urban Community School, and we participate in the Near West Recreation League along with Freddie's kids. So it's great to be part of a community where our kids can come together and play and see investments in neighborhoods and how they could have a positive impact. And that's really why Metro Health is part of this process. We want to positively impact the neighborhood and the community and the overall health and well-being of the neighborhood that Metro Health has been part of for over 150 years. And we want to see, through the lens of addressing the social determinants of health, understanding that it's not just about the main campus, but how do we leverage that main campus investment and have a larger community benefit beyond the campus, beyond the four walls of the hospital building, and have a broader impact in addressing those factors that impact our everyday lives, like transportation, healthy housing, jobs, all these things, healthy food, are so important. And so that's why we're so fortunate to be part of this team, working with the leadership from the councilwoman, and also, the great leadership that Ricardo Leon has been providing as the point person for this project. And we're just really excited to be part of this whole process.
Great, thank you, Greg. Keisha, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Keisha Gonzalez, Program Officer for Neighborhood Revitalization and Engagement at the Cleveland Foundation. And for me, this investment is multidimensional. As a resident, as a professional, as a mother raising kids in this neighborhood, I really see this as an opportunity to democratize how our neighborhood's built. I think very often, and I say this as someone who, again, I live, work, and play here, our neighbors don't often have the context of how to plug in, how to dismantle bureaucracy, how to challenge systems. And this is going to be a really beautiful and amazing opportunity to democratize planning processes first and foremost. And most importantly, it's actually going to provide a mechanism for neighbors to hold us accountable, to hold philanthropy accountable, to hold anchor institutions accountable, to hold the city accountable, to hold their elected politicians accountable. Very often, we just don't know how to play into those power dynamics. And I think it's about time that we give folks voice and space to do this in a really intentional fashion. And to be mindful of time, because I know we have to jump back in, as we enter this process, all of you as neighbors, partners, stakeholders in it, I really ask you guys all to enter the process for real serious comfort in the circumstance of risk. Everything that we're doing here, we're holding our breath and we're working together and we're trusting, so we all have to rest with being comfortable with the circumstance of risk. So I look forward to working with everybody, and I will pass it along.
Thanks so much, Keisha.
So our community is rich, strong, diverse community, large concentration of Latinos, second and third generation families, minority owner businesses, a lot of moms and pop shops, abundance of small businesses, and all this may lead you to believe everything is smooth sailing in Ward 14. But our community, faces many challenges, challenges that we need to tackle on. And this is the reason why, we're here, and this is why a master plan is so important. Our neighborhood struggles a lot, to provide affordable housing, because many of our residents are, underemployed. Some of the stats of the ward that I serve is, I serve about 23,500 residents. It's about 57% minority. The median household income is about 23,000, and about 37% are homeowners. Now for Clark-Fulton, which is the study area for this master plan, we have a population of like 8,000, poverty rate of 43%, and the median household income is about 23,000. So the time is now, and we're very excited. So having an intentional plan for Clark-Fulton community is meant to support neighbors. Although we're focusing on the planning and then starts in the Clark-Fulton neighborhood, we know and we anticipate investment will ripple around the surrounding neighborhoods, so Stockyard, your Brooklyn Center, along the West 25th corridor, Tremont. The goal of this master plan is to take into account the needs of, the residents' vision. The investment is here. Finally, we get an investment. We have new home, construction. We have that are affordable, or we have streets that are being repaved and resurfaced. We're tackling nuisance houses and illegal dumping. So there's still much work to be done that we're still currently doing while this master plan is taking place. So why a master plan? So when I was elected, I had no playbook to work off. The needs in our neighborhood were great. And I knew it was like nearly impossible to tackle all these issues at once. Working this way is not impactful and it's not transformational. So we needed a well-coordinated and inclusive effort to determine the best, to best bring positive change to this diverse neighborhood. There are many stakeholders doing a great job, and I want to thank them all. But, we knew that we could not operate in silos. Working in silos is not effective, and so we had to create a way to align efforts and work together to really transform communities. I want to actually mention Dr. Boutros. I was in an event, and he said, he made a comment, and he said, we stakeholders are like family. We argue and we disagree, but at the end of the day, we have to work together. And so this is also, a big priority for this master plan, is bringing all the stakeholders together, having residents at the table, guiding the process. Why now? I think it's overdue, but I also believe it's also perfect timing. It's time, to have this bold and cohesive neighborhood vision designed for residents and by residents. And once again, we're finally seeing a lot of investment in the neighborhood, and it's important to align these efforts. Some of the investments include, and I'm not going to get too detailed. I will wait for the question, the Q&A, and then feel free to ask more in-depth questions. But I only have 10 minutes, so I want to off the agenda. But so we have the Mayor Jackson neighborhood transformation, and I want to say the mayor has been very key in the implementation of this master plan. He's very supportive of the Clark-Fulton neighborhood. And so this initiative is aimed at providing health and sustainable and equitable opportunities to build wealth and stabilize historically disadvantaged neighborhoods, which is the Clark-Fulton neighborhood. The effort is about $65 million, designed to make strategic investment. We also have the Metro Health Campus transformation, is another exciting investment, undergoing a $1 billion rebuilding and transformation of the hospital, and medical campus. They're also doing affordable apartments, and I'm sure someone on the call will probably go more in depth with that information. We have the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority, is a plan on West 25th corridor project, and it's dedicated to create bus lines that connect neighborhoods. We have the Facts 50 program initiative, has 2 projects underway and a third one to be announced. One is the Metro Health Gateway project being developed by the NRP group, and the other one is Northern Ohio Blanket Mill being developed by the Living Group in partnership with Metro Health. So collectively, it's resulting in about 180 new affordable housing units. And so lastly, and once again, there's so much more, but I kind of wanted to bring it for it to be brief on the projects that are taking place most recently. And another one is the local Myers Park. It has not been updated since in the last 50 years. And this is located on Myers in the Clark-Fulton neighborhood by Lincoln West High School. So our community is severely lacking in quality of public parks and green space. So the Clark-Fulton community needs a park, needs green space investment, which is another project coming along. And so, you know, these are huge projects, a lot of investment, a lot of dollars going in to these plans, but we also, you know, are partnering to invest in people, right? I'm a strong believer that, you know, we can invest in bricks and mortar establishment, but it's even more important to invest in people. So right now I launched last year, CEASE program. It's a women's empowerment development initiative. It's aimed to personally, professionally, and socially develop women in low resources neighborhoods. We are currently recruiting for our second cohort, and we have received powerful feedback. And you know, women are being disconnected to the resources in the community and are really working to build their neighborhoods. So that's a very powerful initiative, very passionate about that. And we have Alicia on the call, who is a program manager for that, and we are thankful for her. We have dumpster days. You know, I mentioned illegal dumping is a huge issue in the neighborhood. So we place dumpsters throughout the community so that residents could clean out their yards and their home, hopefully, you know, alleviating illegal dumping. So whether you're a resident, you know, cleaning up alley, or you have a garbage you want, you know, to take out from your yard, these dumpsters are placed throughout the neighborhood. Last year, our office partnered, you know, with Metro West in the city of Cleveland, and they removed 2 million pounds of garbage, and about 500 tires were left in alleys. So this is a huge initiative that residents really appreciate, and we're seeing the impact of having these dumpsters throughout the neighborhood. We have Painting a Better Picture. It's an initiative to beautify our neighborhood. So, you know, all those vacant lots where you see a lot of illegal dumping in those blighted areas. Sorry, there's a little fly there. So, you know, every year partner with Metro Health. You know, we have Elena who's leading this effort. And, you know, we're turning tires into planters and placing them in vacant lots. This year, we're encouraging residents to convert litter into beautiful home art projects. So there's going to be a contest starting soon. More information, stay tuned. We have movie nights. You know, this year we're going to have to do drive-in movie nights because of the, you know, the pandemic. But this is, you know, to bring families together and, you know, to reclaim their parks and also just have quality time together. So each of these initiatives is to really reconnect people to this place that they live in. So they don't have to live in silos and, you know, feel like they have to leave the community to have this like family-friendly, fun atmosphere. And so that's, you know, what's going on with the investment. There's, once again, a lot more. I'll wait for the Q&A. But I do want to transition to COVID-19 really quick because it's the reason why we're doing this virtual video. And so, you know, we couldn't do it in person, but even though, you know, many of us were isolated and stuck at home, you know, the difficulties did not stop our work. You know, we were still working and meeting to create, you know, to put this meeting together and, you know, to make sure that we meet residents where they're at to engage them in the master plan process. Specifically, we were, you know, one of our biggest challenges was food connectivity. So, you know, we're connecting food to families to the internet. We know internet is not a luxury anymore, and every family should have it, especially for their kids to do their homework. So, you know, we spent a lot of our time connecting people to food and internet connectivity and making sure that we had a very diverse outreach as far as getting the resources out and the communication out to our residents. As I mentioned, it's very diverse, and we do have a lot of different languages. So it was important to ensure that residents received the information, whether it's through mailing, whether it was through a robocall, text messages, billboards. You know, we put out as much as we possibly can. So in closing, and I know Ricardo's gonna talk about this a little bit more in depth, but congratulations to the ambassadors. You know, in order to create a welcoming and inclusive neighborhood where everyone can thrive, you know, we must build this plan from ground up, and we need to have residents as part of the process. That is our #1 priority. You know, resident ambassadors are the net that will push important information into this neighborhood and help transform it. So I have faith that in all the ambassadors, you know, I feel a few years ago, I was stepping into this role and I remember how intense of a learning curve I had, but I asked questions. And so I encourage everyone to ask questions and, you know, take unpopular stances when necessary. Your voice is important. So once again, I hope with all this information, you understand why now and why it's so important to develop a master plan that is inclusive. So now I'll turn it over to Ricardo.
So again, hi again, everyone. Just want to, again, thank you just for being here. We really appreciate your time and your dedication to this. Obviously, you know, everyone has a million other things they could be doing, but instead you choose to be here with us, which is huge. So I'm just gonna take a moment to kind of discuss a little bit about Metro West, how we got here. I want to talk about our amazing team and then just the timeline moving forward. But before doing so, I do want to just kind of touch base on really just kind of all the stuff that we're seeing today. So you all know Metro West has been serving the Clark-Fulton, Brooklyn Center, and Stockyards neighborhoods for nearly a decade now. We will actually celebrate our 10th birthday on July 1st, so we're just about 20 days out. And as you know, our community is incredibly diverse and vibrant. However, how Jasmine mentioned earlier, it does have some challenges and has historically been one of the most disinvested and disenfranchised communities on Cleveland's west side. It's a community that has been inherently disadvantaged and has been made vulnerable by inequities that are present within our socioeconomic system. Unfortunately, those inequities are shining brighter than ever today. Due to COVID and the social uprising that we're seeing spreading throughout the country, really, and really the world, we're seeing firsthand the cracks in the system. And we're seeing how these flaws aid in systematically oppressing communities like ours, communities of color, communities that are vulnerable. And while seeing these cracks firsthand can challenge our beliefs and our ideals, right, about the country, the fact of the matter is that they're real, and we need to find ways to address them in equitable ways. And so I genuinely believe that the time for that is now. And while change can be uncomfortable or even frightening, I will say, like, rest assured that change has been a constant for Metro West. So at least we know how to deal with it. In the last 10 years, we've had 5 directors. We've served multiple elected officials. We transitioned to having our own board. And as of July 1, on our 10th birthday, we'll become a fully independent organization that serves this community. The change that we've experienced has allowed us to become more resilient. It's also allowed us to become more effective in addressing the challenges of our inherently inequitable system. So kind of with that being said, I guess I implore you to please join us in leaning into that change and really being a leader in advocating for change, like whether it's within your respective organization, your community, your family, your friend group, wherever. Just realize that together, like, we can create these new systems that are equitable and just. And I think this master planning process is one of the ways that we're going to do that within this community, or at least begin, you know, turning the wheel. You know, Metro West has historically focused on community engagement, housing, economic development, and green space beautification. Those are our core tenets. They will always be our core tenets because we know those are the things that we need in our community, but we also understand that we need to evolve as an organization and as a group of folks serving this community. So in response to COVID, we shifted to really being like a crisis response organization. Through collaboration, we've been able to deliver food to seniors. We've been able to provide businesses with much needed resources to keep their doors open. We've been able to engage with folks in the community in very non-traditional ways, or at least non-traditional for us as an organization. And we've been helping to close the digital divide, which now more than ever is apparent now more than ever, you know, based on the fact that all of our meetings are done in this way. And we've also dug our heels into civic engagement. Like, we understand the importance of giving a voice to a community that really, for the majority of my life, has not had a voice or has felt muted. So through collaboration with the Cleveland Foundation, we were able to introduce Creative Fusion into the community, which that will use art as a way to explore the importance of voting and census. Through other partnerships, we've also been able to hold voter registration days. We've been able to provide census kits to the community, over 1,000 at this point. And we've also helped several caravanas roll through the neighborhood, providing critical information. You know, we stand united in the mission of creating an informed and engaged community. And while we have certainly been laying the foundation for that work, I genuinely believe that this master planning process is what's going to get us to achieve that goal. So really, with all that being said, you know, I know I went on a little bit of a tangent, but I do want to just transition to covering the amazing team and the kind of roadmap moving forward. So this slide here shows what we call our Together team. And so we covered kind of the 5 core entities, right, just like a few minutes ago. But this group of folks right here is really what has made this entire process possible. If it wasn't for them, we would not be where we are today. We have Alicia, who is working very closely with the councilwoman as a community liaison. We have Matt with the City of Cleveland that works in Director Collier's department. Kristen and Adam, both from the Metro West office. Sarah with Metro Health. Erwin with Rethink Advisors. And then Greg and Tiffany with Land Studio. Like, I can't stress enough, without this group of folks, I don't think we would have been able to get any of the work that we've done so far. And I know we're going to be relying heavily on all of them to continue this process moving forward. And I apologize because I know sometimes I'm not the easiest person to work with, and sometimes I forget to answer emails, but I promise I will do better. We can move to the next slide. So in addition to our, our team, our additional team, we also have some key stakeholders. So the top row you see here are 3 residents that have been key stakeholders throughout this whole process. We have Neil Moni, Luis Cartagena, and Eunice Carrera. They are all community members that are rooted in the community, that are really going to help us guide how we take this plan and actually bring it to the neighborhood level, right, like boots on the ground level. And then on the row below that, we have Corey Riordan from Tremont West. Corey is a longtime CDC director, a close colleague of mine, and somebody I consider a mentor in the industry. Part of our master planning area covers Tremont, and obviously, our communities are different, and so we are relying really heavily on Corey. We'll be relying on him to really engage with, his community, his residents, to ensure that we are meeting their needs as well as part of our process. We also have David Jerker with 7th Hill, who's doing some phenomenal, just out of the box engagement work. And he's working with Mary Beth Feek at RTA on their TOD study for West 25th Street. And so I'm really excited to collaborate with both of them because I think they're going to bring a really unique perspective from a transportation perspective to the plan. And then last but certainly not least, we have Grace Galucci with NOACA. Again, understanding that a lot of our work is going to come up with ideas on how to change the physical fabric of our neighborhood. And we need to have the organizations present that will give us the toolkit to do just that. Next slide, please. So in kind of together, these 3 entities kind of form like Voltron, maybe showing my age there, but and to create a steering committee, right? Or what we call a steering committee. And really the purpose of this group is just to provide just general guidance, really. Like they're provide guidance to us, to myself, to the consultant team on just our vision and strategy, but then also going to help us implement, the project itself. And so together we have these entities really forming kind of a unified force in helping create this plan and then implement it. And then we will be layering in what's on the next slide, which is our ambassadors. So our neighborhood ambassadors, we put out an application. Well, actually, let me just backtrack. Kind of at the very onset of this process, we knew that in order for this to really work, we had to have a group of folks that are, again, boots on the ground in the neighborhood, doing work in the neighborhood, are already leaders in their own respect. We wanted to ensure that we were engaging with those folks and making sure we were getting information to them, getting information from them, and then finding a way to have a channel of constant communication. So we put out an application about a month ago now for ambassadors through our social media and website. Obviously we would have loved to be able to do it in person. We got over 50 applicants, and we had to really draw down. It was a really tough process. We had to draw down from 50 down to the 15 folks that you see named here on the slide. And so really the purpose of these folks is they are community members that, again, already display leadership and are connected in the community and are interested and really collaborating with us and digging their heels into this work. They're going to bring capacity building and training opportunities to the community. They're going to help us with community outreach. They're going to help us with our neighborhood initiatives. They're going to help us build even more relationships or stronger relationships with the neighborhood. And then ultimately, when the time comes, they're going to help us implement the project. And then our hope is that this group of folks can live past the ambassador program, past the master planning program as ambassadors, and continue helping us develop new things into the future as the neighborhood continues to develop. So last but certainly not least, I will talk about kind of the timeline. Oh, actually, very quickly, before I get to that, other partners. So there are, this list that you see here is a massive list, and this doesn't include everybody. None of this would be possible if we didn't have real strong commitment and collaboration from every single one of you. The reality is that we know that we are not experts in everything, and we need folks who have expertise, who have commitment, who have dedication. And the list that you see here, again, is just a piece of the folks that we have at the table. Each and every one of you is going to be important to us completing this process, making sure, holding us accountable to make sure that it's done equitably, making sure that we're doing it in a transparent way, and making sure that we're doing it in a way that speaks to the needs of all of us. Not only our residents and our businesses, but also our stakeholders and our collaborating organizations. And so again, kind of speaking back to what I said at the beginning, I implore you to continue going down this path with us and collaborating with us. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. And you know, I apologize if we left your name off the list, but I promise you that we are, like, this is one of the most important pieces of this process. And again, we look forward to continue growing this list as the planning process moves forward. And so last but not least, before I turn it back over to great folks at WRT, I just wanted to talk about the timeline. And I think the reason being that it's so important is that you see, you know, June, kind of where that green block starts, where we are today is like the project launch, but this was 18 months of work just to get here. And so I'll backtrack to kind of where that was, and I'll do it very briefly. Going back to the end of 2018, December of 2018, all of us, the core team, those 5 entities that you see, kind of came together, and we realized that every single one of us had a planning project in mind or had an idea on planning for the neighborhood. And we had 2 options. We could each go do it independently and not collaborate with each other. Unfortunately, like what we've seen happen in many other neighborhoods and many other cities across the country. Or we could have put our personal agendas aside, kind of our personal egos aside, and do this in a collaborative nature, right? In a way where we all compromise with each other. And that's ultimately what we decided to do, because we know that our collective impact will be significantly greater than had we done this independently. So we got together kind of end of December, really put that plan in motion, or at least the idea in motion. We held our first public meeting in March of 2019 at Rincon Criollo Take 2. I think many of you were there that night, and you got to see us all kind of present on the different elements. And then we had a really, really great conversation just about how do you weave all these elements together. Coming out of that meeting, honestly, we spent a lot of time figuring out how we were going to pay for this thing. So we did quite a bit of fundraising, and thankfully, again, thank you to all of the funders that provided funds for this. If it wasn't for your support, we would not be able to be here today. But we did effectively, over the course of that, basically those 2 quarters, we're able to fundraise for these efforts, and then ultimately issued an RFP in August of last year. RFP received tremendous response. We got 10 proposals, 1 local, 8 national, and 1 international. We ultimately ended up dwindling down that list to about 4 and asked them to interview, and then ultimately made the decision to move forward with WRT because of their amazing work. After that, we held our second public meeting really in January of this year, and I think many of you, again, were here for that. It was at Family Ministry Center right down the street in the neighborhood. And again, that was really kind of the first time we all came together and said, hey, this is our team. This is what our plan is. We need you all. And then since then, we've really just been working to get to this point where we are today. We had different plans in place originally in January. COVID threw a big wrench in those plans. And then, quite frankly, now with kind of the social uprising that we're seeing, it's kind of funny how things work. It's almost like it worked out perfectly, because I think a lot of the things that we're going to address over the course of the next 12 months, the screen that you see on the map, it actually aligns with everything that we're seeing happening in the country and the world right now. And I think the timing couldn't be better, quite frankly. And so this will be a 12-month process. By about this time next year, we'll have a master plan document, and then we'll begin the next phase, which will be implementation. And so with that, I'll hand it back over to WRT so they can actually go through the master planning process.
Great. Thank you so much, Ricardo. So we're going to give you just an overview. You saw how much work has gone into getting us to this point. And now the work is really to reach out to you to begin the conversations about, you know, how to envision our future together. So that's going to be, as Ricardo mentioned, a full year process, but we're sort of broken it into more bite-sized chunks that each, have some flexibility, some overlap from one to the next. But it'll sort of be a milestone at the end of each that gives, sort of a rhythm to the process, an opportunity for us to reflect back to you what we've heard and what we're sort of beginning to see emerge as themes, as guiding principles, as things like that. So this first phase that we're in right now, this is where we're really going to be listening and learning. It's all about us understanding, what what the big opportunities are in your minds, what your needs are, your aspirations. And we're going to be doing a lot of data collection and analysis on the back end to really just get a good handle of the neighborhood, what's going on. The second phase will start sort of at the conclusion of the summer, moving into the fall. And this phase is really going to be about exploring together. So we'll have a lot of good understanding at that point, and we'll start to work together on what our guiding principles are. We've already sort of laid out some of the principles that the core team shares, and then we'll be working with you to refine those and develop them further. Moving into the third phase, this third phase is really going to be about taking some of the guiding principles, some of the goals and objectives, and the frameworks that we've started to work on together, and advancing those into more tangible, projects, initiatives, actions that we can take. A lot of that's going to be about prioritization. A lot of it's going to be about, thinking about particular sites or particular programs. And then when we've got kind of all of that gathered together, we'll start to put together a final plan document that will really just lay out all of that in a very clear, very digestible, very, friendly way, so that everybody's on the same page and we can move forward with adoption and then take that as a guiding document right into implementation. And a really critical thing for you to know is that this planning process that we just laid out, those 4 phases, it's designed to be interlocked with community engagement at every step. And the community engagement is going to be tailored to the phase of the project that we're in and what kind of input is most sort of appropriate and helpful at that point in time in our process. So this launch presentation represents the sort of our opening of, a request for input and feedback for this first phase. It's going to be followed up with community mapping, focus group meetings, and a community survey that we'll talk about later on in the presentation. And then in the second phase, we'll really have a more interactive workshop format where we're going to be working together in these studio work sessions. At each phase of the process, we'll kind of revisit the COVID-related constraints, the political environment in the country, and sort of recalibrate as needed. But our intention is to incorporate as much in-person work as we can safely. So we'll sort of revisit that moving into phase 2. And then in phase 3, we will have a planned celebration, which is really us reflecting back to you what we've heard so far and getting a chance for validation, for course correction, for feedback, so that when we move into the final phase, we've heard clearly from you what you want the plan to be documenting and reflecting. So there will be focus group meetings at every stage of the process, and even at the final phase 4, the public hearings that will be part of the adoption process are also a chance to sort of get that last input in. So there is no shortage of opportunities to get involved, and we'll continue to communicate with you about all of the ways that you can make your voice heard. The plan elements is really intended as a framework to get us started. So we're going to be working with you to refine these and really make them reflect what you're sharing with us. But from our experience doing this before, these are some of the key elements that we've heard from this community, the stakeholders we've already been working with, that will really help us get at how to advance our guiding principles, which is equity, health, sustainability, and resilience. So all of these, we're going to be looking at the different elements through that lens of how can we advance those core principles, those guiding principles. You'll see on the slide these 6 elements in the different color coding. So I'll just quickly read through them. We're going to be talking about them a lot later. So, I'll just give you a brief introduction. So the first one that we want to give a good look at is balanced neighborhood reinvestment, housing diversification, really focusing on where you live, work, and play, the physical, housing and real estate development. The second one is really taking a look at economic vibrancy, at commercial corridor revitalization, at the whole ecosystem of entrepreneurship and small business. And then moving into arts and culture and looking at how that can be a catalyst for positive change in the neighborhood. And, just kind of continue moving along. These are all interrelated. The fourth one here is health, wellness, and public realm. And then looking at the sustainable infrastructure and livable transportation throughout the community. And finally, last but not least, certainly embedded in every aspect of the work is looking at community engagement through the lens of capacity building and develop a collective vision that really reflects the community that we're working with and the community that you all know so well. So we're going to be, using each of those elements to really get an in-depth understanding of the neighborhood and use that to move forward into an actionable implementation framework and really generate some momentum coming out of the planning process. So another critical element to understand that sort of interlocks with that framework that we just talked about, the plan elements, is the eco-district certification process and the eco-district protocol. So this is a framework that we are using as part of this planning process because it connects us with sort of a big picture theory of change that really acknowledges the neighborhood as the seed, the core of how you get at that social change that Ricardo was talking about. This is where your community, the issues that are confronting you, and you really have the opportunity to work together to make that change real. So this framework essentially connects this planning process with the work of so many other communities that share similar challenges, similar aspirations, and enables us to learn from that network, but also to have a clear framework for how to connect our goals, our principles, our actions to measurable outcomes. So it really helps us to track progress, to be accountable, to be clear about who's doing what, how, when, and really makes sure that we're hitting on all those elements in a cohesive way. So with that, we're going to open it up for our first interactive polling question. This is going to be a little bit of a learning process for everyone, but we want to just kind of get a feel for what you think this master plan should achieve. What do you think are some of the key elements that you'd like to see advanced by this master plan? So one of the things that really emerged as a runaway winner here, a lot of people thought was important, is providing inclusive and equitable community engagement opportunities at every step of the process. So that's, a great thing to hear that that's on your mind. That's something that's very, close to our hearts and something that we're going to be working on with you. So certainly keep our pedal to the metal on that and make sure that we're meeting your expectations. Another one that, came out of it was developing a clear vision and strategic goals. So about 63% of people felt that was really important. I think that makes clear that people are ready to really spend the time, doing this prioritization, thinking through how all of these things relate and coming up with a clear framework. Let's see. And then the next one, a lot of people responded to was enhancing job opportunities, prosperity, and community wealth. So we're hearing that, that's certainly not a surprise given COVID-19 and how devastating that has been. And certainly I'm sure the community already had some challenges in that respect prior to the onset of COVID-19. So we'll really make sure that that comes through strong throughout the planning process. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing this so that we can move along to the next piece of the presentation, which is really about how you can get involved, how you can participate. So this is really going to focus just on phase one, because like we mentioned before, so much is evolving every day, every week. It's really not realistic for us to project the entire year. So what we're going to do is really share with you what you can do now in this first phase in the next couple months. And that's going to be a combination of things you can do at your home and things that you can do through limited in-person gatherings or existing services and events that we can connect with. So there's a large array of ways that you can get involved. Some of them require more, digital connectivity. Some of them require less. We're really going to be making sure that we have a balance between those two. So what you see here are all of the different tools and ways that you can kind of get in touch with us, keep in conversation with us. So the website will be a great resource with a lot of interactive elements. It's already up and running. Feel free to take a look. You'll see at the bottom there, the URL is clarkfultontogether.com or clarkfultonjuntos.com. We're also already, working with social media. It's a really critical way to stay in touch and stay connected and share, things that are very close to you. So we'll be using that throughout the process. Web meetings like this one is going to be an important tool, and we'll be kind of bringing everyone along with us as we're learning. We'll help you learn So don't be intimidated by that. It's really important for us to all get used to that. And then finally, we're not going to be leaving behind the more analog or traditional methods. So phone is going to be really critical. Our ambassadors are going to be helping us to do some of that outreach, make sure that people are getting their information. And we're also going to be sending out things that are physical, paper, mailers coming out through the postal service, flyers that you can find at your local businesses, and surveys that, will either be a mixture of paper and also, a hybrid with online. So lots of ways to get involved. Next. And then this is something that will, as we hear more about the guidelines and how COVID-19 social distancing is unrolling and changing in the state of Ohio and Cleveland specifically, this will evolve. But for now, what we have to offer is really integrating with existing services and, existing events to the extent that they exist, through pop-ups that can enable us to share a little bit about the master plan, get a little bit of input while people are receiving other services or social benefits through things like existing food drives or other small gatherings people are already having. Another piece will be neighborhood initiatives. So this is really about having a tangible physical presence in the neighborhood when we are still constrained by needing to be in Philadelphia. So this is things that are visible in the neighborhood, things like building gardens, planting flowers, sharing home cooked recipes, murals. So we'll be working with you to kind of shape what that could look like together. Lastly, this is something that we talked about earlier, that this project originally was going to launch in April in person with a whole set of community meetings. That did not happen because of COVID. And so this is really, there's been a soft launch over a period of like the last couple months that we've really started rolling out these different things. So the website is a great place for you to go right now. It's just kind of a home for all of this information. We encourage you to go explore it yourself and share with us your input through all the different opportunities there. We'll walk you through that. Social media, this is already up and running. We'll be using it more and more. So please follow us and use these hashtags, Clark-Fulton Juntos and Clark-Fulton Together. The postcard mailer is kind of a second piece pairing with this launch video that will help just get the word out, get everybody connected, aware that the planning process is happening. And we're hoping that you'll sort of take a little bit of license with it, get creative, do some coloring. It's going to be something that's designed to, do as if it was a coloring book. So please share with us. We'd love to see your creativity. So on to things that you can do on the website, ways to get involved, things that you can use to provide input at this point in time. So this mapping web application is up and running. You can see it on the website, and you can also use it on the smartphone in the same way you would at your desktop computer. This is a way for us to kind of have a virtual tour of the neighborhood. So we'll get to know it through what you share with us. So share places that are significant to you, places that you like, that you'd like to see improved, places that you already like, but that you feel like there's more that could be done to make it even better. And just tell us a bit about it and upload a photo so that we know, what the look and feel is. And finally, these are two other elements of our engagement for phase 1, focus groups. We already have signups up available online. We love for all community members, stakeholders to participate in these. It's really a way for us to get more focused input from you about specific topics that might be close to your heart, that you might have a specific, expertise or knowledge about. And this will be, smaller groups and, more informal, a way to just have more of an open conversation. And then finally, following those two, what we hear from you in this presentation, the focus groups, the community mapping, we'll be developing a community survey that will enable us to follow up with you and really hear a bit more about, the details, the nuances, the complexities of themes and ideas that we've already started to hear. So this will be a great tool for us to just get more specific. So what this all adds up to, this is for phase 1, we'll be using the social media and website to get your input. That's already up and running. The postcards coming soon, and this launch video will kind of be an orientation for people, a welcome to get started, to start sharing information with us and ideas. We've already onboarded, as Ricardo mentioned and Jasmine, the ambassadors, which we are so excited to work with. It's a really great team, and they've already started to get to know each other, and we've had the chance to introduce ourselves. So they'll be helping us along the way. And then the focus groups, and finally the community survey and community mapping will really get us to the point where we're able to reflect back to you what we've learned, what we've heard, and make sure that we're on track and that we're picking up on the themes and issues and opportunities that you want us to focus in on. So with that, we're going to do a little bit more of the same type of experience. So the interactive polling questions. These are going to be, a little bit less abstract, hopefully. So for this one, we really want to know about some of the places in Clark-Fulton that you care about, or places that are the most meaningful to you. So this is really helping us get to know your neighborhood. So here we go. I'm going to go to the next one. So the first one that, I thought the most people prioritizing it was the restaurants and bakeries. About 70% of you felt like that was an important thing for us to look at, for the places that you care about most. Looks like also a lot of people were really, felt that the houses and homes of the neighborhood are really significant and meaningful places. That certainly is no surprise and great to hear. And let's see, next, the businesses also got a really strong response. 65% of you felt like those were some of the most significant places for you, or the most meaningful. It's, great to hear. So we're hearing restaurants and bakeries, homes and houses, and businesses are some of what, are most meaningful to you. And again, certainly this doesn't mean the other ones won't be, considered in the part of the plan, but it gives us a little bit of a calibration. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing that. And these,
so we have a couple places on the chat if you want to read them out loud.
Great, yeah, good, thank you. So some of the others that people wanted to list were communal spaces for people to gather and get information and set up for events. So it's great to hear. Yeah, communal spaces are really critical. Another comment about Brooklyn Center. So this project will really be focusing on the Clark-Fulton neighborhood, but certainly all of the neighboring communities will be affected by and are, part and parcel of how Clark-Fulton works. So they will be addressed to some degree through, what we share about Clark-Fulton, but they won't be the focus of this plan. So that'll be kind of something that what we can work on together and think about what the next steps are for Brooklyn Center. And sort of reflecting similarly to Jacqueline's comment about communal spaces, Keisha shared about third spaces, places that are defined by use and activation of people, not necessarily traditional public spaces or public right-of-way, but places that people gather and are interacting with one another outside of their private spaces. Great, so I'm gonna now move to the next question. And just so everybody knows, these results, we will be sharing them when we post the slides for this presentation. So you'll be able to see them again. This won't be the last time. So this next question is really, similarly about, important places in the neighborhood. But this one's focused more around activities, programs, and events. So things that you do in the neighborhood that are things that you enjoy doing, things that you like doing. So we're gonna go far and away. It looks like festivals and events are something that people really love to do in the neighborhood. I've certainly been to a few at the La Placita events and certainly can reflect your excitement over them. I wish I could be there now. Second to that, there's a lot of people who say that they enjoy walking in the neighborhood. So it's a really great thing for us to know that that's already a activity that people are enjoying. And biking as well is something that came through strong, is something people love doing. Some of the comments that we got in addition to what we listed here are sports for adults and kids through Near West Rec, and jogging and eating. Would love to be able to eat outdoors, can sympathize, certainly in this good weather especially. Opportunities to engage with youth and support them. Eating, I love eating, so that's what I do whenever I visit a neighborhood, find a good place to eat. Additional opportunities for adult sports, it's a great point. It's not just youth that love to get out there and be athletic. Another comment about Near West Rec, great resource in the neighborhood for programs. then a call out from Rhonda that she should have put eating. So I think, there's some good consensus around that. Eating's always a good thing. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. We'll move on to the fourth one here. This one's really, similarly about things that are meaningful to you in the neighborhood, but really focusing a little bit more on identity and culture. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the next one. All right, so something that people really value so far is that it's welcoming to immigrants and newcomers. That's a great thing to hear, that's already present and something that's part of the neighborhood. Also, people valuing the multiculturalism and diversity and the Hispanic and Latinx culture. And then
Zoe, some people can't see the results.
Oh, that's because I haven't shared them. Sorry about that.
Okay.
You should be able to see them now.
It's okay, no worries. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, it takes a village. And I think that's it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. Sorry for the briefer time to see it. And we're gonna launch the next one. So this is, looking a little bit more at some of the things that we can improve on, the challenges in the neighborhood. What is the Clark-Fulton community facing today? The tied for first are absentee and disengaged landlords and property owners, as well as homeowners struggling to keep up with maintenance and economics demands. And then runner-up to those ones looks like it is the fragility and vulnerability of small businesses. So, and that's COVID-19 related or, related to something else. So that's, good to hear that we're really looking at, landlords and property owners, as well as homeowners and small business owners to look at how we can support them better. And in the chat window, we have suggestions of other problems or challenges that Clark-Fulton is experiencing as apathy and trust in authority and jobs. So I'm going to stop sharing so we can do our last question here. And so this is, similar but slightly different from challenges. This is what you'd like to see improve in Clark-Fulton. Looks like the top 3 responses were safer streets for people who are walking, biking, or using a wheelchair or stroller. That certainly makes sense given what we heard earlier about activities that people enjoy, walking and biking, making sure that that's safe. Runner up to that looks like, the variety in businesses, shopping, and services on the neighborhood commercial corridors. Also got a really strong response there. And then I think tied for third here are more quality housing that meets community needs and better maintenance of private property. So with that, we're gonna close out the discussions. I'm gonna hand it back to Claudia to just do a couple final remarks. And we really appreciate you taking the time to provide this input for us, and we'll look forward to working with you in the weeks and months to come.
All right, so before I take over, we do have some other the questions. So if you want to read those first.
Sure. Yeah, so for this question on improvement, some of the other suggestions are food options, restaurants and grocery, communication, some sort of central place for all communication in the community, preservation of the present sociocultural dynamics and, preserving the hood, food options, again, restaurants and grocery, safer streets in general, the relationship between diverse populations, and dealing with the alleys. I think that's it.
All righty, everyone. And then Jacqueline's second, Freddie's comment about the alleys. So all these presentations, like we say, the website is going to be the virtual home of this project. I guess the physical home is the offices of Metro West. So if you can go to our website, you're going to actually see the presentation. We're doing this in English, and we're going to do right after this, we're going to do it in Spanish. You can watch it again. For the people that are going to be watching this later on, that they're not, live participant in this meeting, you're going to have the opportunity to fill out the same questionnaires online and submit your answers. So we're going to leave those open for everyone in the rest of the community to, we want to get their input on this. And of course, you can actually, in that site, you can, download the slides. We're going to be uploading the presentation by himself as a PDF so everyone can have access to this. So with that, I know that we hit our, 90-minute mark. We want to open it for discussion for, everyone to share. We want to see your faces, but we know that maybe some people have to leave this meeting. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to either, if you have an extra minutes, to stay with us, and we want to hear from you. Not only with the comments, we want to hear your voice, see your faces. If you can't stay and then you decide to leave, like I said, we're going to be recording. This is going to be recorded and posted in a website, so you'll have the chance to also see our conversations afterwards. For that, so I'm going to invite everyone to turn on their videos. If we want to, see your faces, still stay muted for a while, and then you can use the raise hand tool if you want to speak, or you can type your question, comment on the chat room, and we'll eventually take turns. So with that, I think one of the questions that we add is, what do you think this master plan should achieve? So if you want to probably speak to that or have any particular question to any of the core team members, the planning team, or about the process itself. All right, anyone? If not, I'm gonna start calling people.
I'll go. This is, hello? Can you hear me?
Hey there. Welcome. Go ahead, Johnny.
All right. Okay. I just want to, sorry, I didn't raise my hand. I forgot. So anyways,
Okay.
just wanted to say great job, everyone. I can tell you, as someone who's lived in the Clark-Fulton neighborhood my whole life, it is exciting to see this come to fruition. I remember being 6, 7 years old with my dad in planning meetings with Helen Smith, the councilwoman way back in the early 80s and stuff, talking about what the neighborhood was going to look like, and some of the stuff is coming true now. But the identity of the community is so rich in culture and so diverse, and we have such a great diverse leadership right now. And the way the culture is excited about moving and changing, I'm at awe. And I just want to tell every single one of you guys that are on this call and those who are leading, I'm so proud of you. I'm so grateful for you guys. And I look forward to, getting into the work at whatever level you want me to be a part of, and to support you guys, because I know our community is hungry for change and hungry to have a voice, like Ricardo mentioned, and as Jasmine has been representing our community since she came into office and before then. So I just want to thank you guys. So I just want to be clear, we can send that link to other community people so they can fill out the same survey that we just did. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'll go ahead and share that link in the chat so you can see it as well. But yeah, that once we close out the presentation today, we'll get that set up online so that everybody can see the same questions that we had today and provide their input as well.
Okay, well, you have the full support of City Life and Johnny Fine, whatever that means to you guys. And that's all I'm gonna say. And I look forward to more of these and engaging you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you, Johnny.
much.
Thank you, Johnny.
Anyone else? We do have some movement on the chat room. So Ronnie say, I think the master plan should develop long-term growth, economic viability to preserve resident diversity and sustainability. That sounds like a very nice vision statement over there. So Jacqueline had a question about the ambassadors. So the ambassadors group is going to be under the wing of Kayla and Jerry. So your communications are going to be mostly with them. So they already had a meet and greet last week. But they're the ones, you are going to be part of all this. So you're going to be attending some of the focus group meetings. You are going to be helping mapping the neighborhood. So you're going to be using the mapping tool on your smartphones or the computer, and everything related to this process too.
Yeah, and we're certainly, available to the ambassadors. We're working with you as a team, so treat us as a resource. We're here to help.
Yeah, and then Kayla's going to give you a call tonight, Rhonda.
Yeah, bring you up to speed.
Okay, anyone else? I saw we have lost 13 people, so I don't want to keep you waiting, but also we want to give you the opportunity to ask any other particular questions.
You don't have to be answering the question that we posed to open up. Feel free to chime in on anything else as well.
All righty. So does anyone in the core team wants to say any, final statements? Kayla, anyone from the planning team that would like to speak? If not, don't hear none.
Hi, real quick. This is Kayla.
There you go.
I can just say we had our initial ambassador meeting. We had 2 other people were onboarding still, Rhonda and Pastor Gordon, and it was really great. I'm really, really excited. It made this process seem real. Like we're gonna start moving soon and dig in, and the diversity and the energy from the ambassadors were amazing. We have a couple of them on now. Everyone should say hi real quick.
Hi and welcome.
All right, yes, if we have some of you on the line, you can.
Claudia, this is Wu. I just wanted to say, this was very cool. And I had a lot of anxiety and nervousness going into an online launch, but I think we all did a great job. Now, I can only imagine that there are hundreds of residents who don't have this ability, don't have the luxury that we have of being digitally connected and knowing how to use technology to engage. So I encourage everyone on this meeting, ambassadors, to get the word out, to help connect, and let us know how best to connect to those residents. If it's not online, if it's not email, is it a knock on a door, or is it a letter, whatever it is, because we want to hear from everyone.
Wu, you inspired me, so I'm just going to say a couple of words. I would just caution everyone, as we begin this process, to approach it in a selfless way and approach it with your ears and eyes open and try to really hear what people are feeling and thinking and try to hear their hearts. Because I think one of the things that we have to deal with right now in this nation and in this community in particular is that it's not about our agenda. It's about responding and supporting the needs of what people want and getting back to this idea of economic empowerment. I'd have to be remiss if I didn't say this, but a lot of the looting and things that you've seen and the questions raised, why are they burning down communities and why are people burning up their own neighborhoods? Well, if you are living in a neighborhood where you don't own and control anything, it's not yours. So I think we need to get back to the point of putting assets in the hands of people and really creating opportunities for ownership. Clark-Fulton has a lot of mom and pop shops, small businesses. I'm witnessing a couple of barbershops open. So I think there's some good things that are happening, but we got to put the power and the resources back into the hands of the folks who live in these communities. So I just want to say that, and I think this is going to be a really awesome process as long as we just stay focused on what's important. Thanks.
I also want to plug in really fast. 2 sentences in that, like, this is a process of like sharing power, dismantling kind of like the ivory tower position some of the core team partners have. So I encourage folks that, like, if you want to be having conversations with us, like, we're here, we're accessible, we're your neighbors. Don't hesitate, reach out, contact us. Where I'm more than happy, both as a neighbor, as someone who works for the foundation, as someone who has worked in the nonprofit sector in the neighborhood, to have really meaningful and trusted dialogue. So I just want to make sure I can extend that invitation.
Alrighty. Well, thank you everyone for taking some time today to join this virtual launch. Like Wu said, we were all very anxious on this. This is like a first time. This is a new era, but I think it's an era that's here to stay. And I think we all have to slowly get comfortable with this new way of communication. In this medium, you know, Zoe and I and Wu, at some point we're gonna make a trip to Cleveland to see. I mean, I want to be able to walk the neighborhood. Wu and I were there briefly in January. It was pretty cold. I'm very looking forward to see the neighborhood in the summer or the fall if I can. So hopefully the next phases of the project will have it physical. If we can't, then we'll try to, you know, our best to have limited in-person activities for the next phases that is safe for everyone, for the planning team and for the residents and the stakeholders. In the meanwhile, we're gonna be, like I say, kicking off our focus group meetings on the week of June 22nd and 26th. A lot of the stakeholders are gonna be receiving invitation. If you're a resident and would like to be part of one of the focus group meetings and have an interest in a specific topic, please visit our website and submit a form and register, and you'll receive an invitation. But like we say, we're gonna meet a lot with you. We are here in this page on the street. You can stay connected. You can reach us on social media. We have an email address for the project, and we have a phone number. So with all that, I'm gonna say bye. And then we are actually, some of us do this again in Spanish. So gracias.